What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivon, and we are here with Found, Season 2, Episode 2, Missing While Difficult. Let me tell y'all, strap in for another 20 weeks because we have 22 episodes this season. We are getting back to clearly something in my eye. Jesus Christ, nothing can ever go right. Anyways, we are getting back to like full seasons, especially on network television. I didn't think that I would say this as I was getting older, but oh my God, I really miss cable network television. Oh, the streaming apps have gone too freaking far. More specifically, Netflix. Netflix is literally the reason that Blockbuster was put out of business. But if you're as old as I am, you remember Netflix being like, you can request a movie, they mail it to you, you mail it back. It was basically like a home DVD, movie rental, TV show rental company. And this was before they put everything on a streaming app, and it literally was like the first of its kind. But with the recent cancellations of TV shows that are like amazing that people actually like, especially with Netflix being either like a Netflix original or they bought all the distribution rights outside of network cable, it's really important and so near and dear to me that Found is on actual network cable, NBC network, and the fact that oh my God, what's the name of them? Comcast and NBC Universal kind of like linked up, and they have this deal and this distribution deal with Peacock and everything like that. So you actually get a lot more life and a lot more longevity because it's based on network television and not just solely like a Peacock original or a streaming platform original where if they don't necessarily meet their target numbers, they have to let the show go. So hate to start this off with like facts and doom and gloom, but I'm super excited. Like I said, Found, NBC, every Thursday, 10/9 Central. Let's talk about the time slot. Do y'all know how important it is to get the 10/9 Central slot? That is like prime grown-up adult like time slot on there. And a lot of shows that end up airing that late end up getting like different or more mature TV ratings and things of that nature. And it's like the time slot that, if you just remember back in like the 90s and the 2000s, like TV shows was fighting for specific time slots on a network because that would be the time where a lot of your core demographic that the TV show was appealing to was up and awake. Kids are in bed, you've typically winded down for the night, food was cooked, everything is there put away, and the adults got their time to shine. So for NBC, Found to get the 10/9 Central, and for Law & Order SVU to take the 9/8 Central slot. With 26 seasons, it's a really nice like deference to something new, something energetic, without sacrificing the ratings or the excitement around the 26th season of Law & Order SVU. So that is so important. I'm super excited about that detail surrounding this show. So, Found, Season 2, Episode 2, Missing While Difficult. I'm doing this review sans notes. There's nothing in my hands. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything that I'm looking at because this is not going to be your typical review, recap, things of that nature. Literally because everything that I said on episode 1, I was right. Everything I said on Twitter last week, I was right. So I feel like laying out the episode, every single detail, it's literally just like an ego boost. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things, but really like deep dive into the trauma and the psychosis of everything that's happening and everything that surrounds the show and what the show is about. So, Sir has Lacey. Lacey is alive. We have confirmation on that. One of the biggest things that I said in my last recap, as well as on Twitter, is that Sir loves Gabi. Sir kidnapped Gabi, and Again, I don't know the type of love that he has for her at this juncture. We don't know that it's a romantic love. We don't know that it's a fatherly love, a sibling love. We have no idea like what the love actually means, but we know that his motivations behind everything that he does for her is love. When she was younger and he kidnapped her, she was sad and she was depressed, so he kidnapped Lacey, aka Bella, which is her real name, and he did it for Gabi. He did it to make her happy. And we find in this episode that he confesses that not only to Lacey but to Gabi herself, like, I do everything that I do to make you happy. It was supposed to be me and you, and the only way to get to you is to get to Lacey. So since she's the object that you love and you're the object that I love, I'm gonna take what you love in order to bring both of us together. So you do find the motivation behind why he took Lacey in the first place, but we still don't really uncover the type of love that he has for Gabi. Now, this isn't the Gabi and Lacey show, right? Mosley and Associates was formed by people who experienced traumatic events surrounding being kidnapped or having family members kidnapped. And they are here as basically like, again, I keep thinking of the word consulting, but it's more like a supplemental agency with the police to be able to go outside the bounds of police laws and standard operating procedures to be able to find missing Black and brown kids. So within this episode, we have a baby who goes missing, baby Rain. And so Mosley and Associates, everybody is trying to figure out like how to find this baby while still also keeping the focus on somewhat of a prominent figure. So the way that they're hunting for Lacey is almost if a law enforcement officer has been kidnapped. So I do love that they're keeping that same energy and considering Lacey as one of their own. But within all of this is almost like a filler episode because we get a lot of flashbacks and we spend a lot of time in showing the closeness that Lacey and Gabi have immediately post getting free of Sir himself. So we see that Gabi is the person who got Lacey to speak and also would speak into her like, I know you're afraid, I know you're scared, I know you're terrified, but you are free. And if you're still feeling this way, let's do what we need to do to arm yourself and to protect yourself so that you don't ever have to feel afraid again. And you go back in time and you see like a 13-year-old Gabi say this to Lacey. But if you remember last week's episode, it was almost as if Gabi was shocked that Lacey was prepared and had like all different items around her house just in case Sir came. So in this episode, you get to see that Gabi is the reason that Lacey even prepared herself in this manner. Even if Gabi forgot, Lacey never forgot that connection. You were kidnapped with someone, you share this trauma bond, you share this relationship, and we see that Sir has been stalking and watching Lacey the entire time in the hopes to try to like manipulate Gabi to like do the things that he wants her to do. So we have this backdrop in the face of a baby being missing, but the way that a lot of things kind of like meld together and really take shape is the feelings and the situation surrounding the kidnapping of the child and how that correlates into helping them try to track down where Lacey is. In this episode, Sir makes contact with Gabi, not necessarily out of taunting, but he makes contact because he still wants to feel valued by Gabi. And so in season 1, she kidnaps him. He loves her. His whole motivation is to please her and to make her feel happy, which is why he ended up helping her and Mosley and Associates solve cases. So he's very upset that they're not finding baby Rain as fast as he would like. So while he's with Lacey, he's kind of struggling and wrestling with himself. Like, he kidnapped Lacey because he wants Gabi to do a certain thing, but he also wants Gabi to succeed, and he wants Gabi to be happy, and he doesn't want to see her sad. So he risks everything to meet with her and to, again, go into the mind of the kidnapper and assist her in being able to figure out who took this baby and how do you bring this infant child back to their mother. And this is where the writers are like sitting, living, floating, drinking their bourbon, drinking their, what do you call it? Martinis, drinking their Moscato. They are sat in the trauma of it all and the things that don't make sense. So while you as a consumer, you can see it and you know what you're looking at makes sense, when you internalize everything that's going on, it literally does not make sense. And for Paul Mark Gosselaar and Shanola Hampton to really work, especially in their scenes when they're one-on-one, to really work within the intricacies of Stockholm Syndrome and in the intricacies of both of their personal traumas, her with him with his own mother, and find a love and to exist in this space that's only meant and only stood by them. It's ridiculously mind-blowing. It's really hard for me to fathom that somebody or somebody's in the writer's room does not have a personal experience with this. It just seems hard to make up and hard to imagine unless you've gone through it or that you know somebody like in your real life, in your inner circle, that has experienced this. But through it all, we find Sir just wants to hurt Gabi the way that he feels hurt and betrayed by her. So you understand very quickly that he's not gonna kill Lacey. His motivations aren't necessarily to kill Lacey, but just to frighten her and frighten Gabi enough to get her to come and find him. Because at the end of the day, you find out in episode 2, or you can predict that if a trade is made, he absolutely will trade Gabi for Lacey. But for what? We have no idea. Now, in episode 1, we dug up some things in the past. We know that his mother abused him. We know that his mother died in the fire. But we ended up finding out the mom was already dead before the house was on fire. And remember that little brother that the mama was forcing him to like watch and to babysit and things of that nature? Well, baby bro is like a behavioral psychologist, and he comes back into the picture. So Mosley and Associates and the cops, they don't know how to feel about him, but Sir sees him in the background of a press conference and he loses his freaking mind. So at this juncture, it may seem that the brother could be an asset into the mind and into the places that Sir held important to him to help M&A figure out where he may go that he feels comfortable and where he feels the most powerful to hold Lacey while he's playing this cat and mouse game. So we're introduced to somebody in Sir's past, and this is really important, and I think the timing is really perfect in order to expand the storyline. We got 22 episodes. We can't do 22 episodes of looking for Lacey. We can't do 22 episodes of like this cat and mouse game between Sir and Gabi without diving into the life of Sir himself. And so introducing his brother and bringing his past into it and kind of doing the whole Criminal Minds unsub thing to dive into what his internal and external motivations are, I think it's going to be a big catalyst to the way the other 20 episodes of the season is gonna play out. Otherwise, why introduce his sibling at this time? And we see very quickly that it makes him undone. Sir has or wants to maintain a detachment from his own life that he grew up with, and he lives in a fairy tale in which he kidnapped Gabi, or from which he first encountered her as a student. And so his brother kind of breaks up that whole thing and forces Sir to confront the lunacy of the things that he's doing and the behaviors that he's displaying. In the middle of all of this, there's a little bit more calm between M&A, between Trent and Gabi as well. and truly focusing on like, okay, we need to find Gabi. We need to find this missing baby. We could put our shit to the back burner right now, but it's still bubbling underneath the surface. And people are still blaming Gabi. And by people, mainly Margaret and mainly Trent. Zeke seems to be leveling out in a way. And we know that Dhan was always on her side. But the fact that Margaret, let's take Trent out of it because he's just like a situationship. The fact that Margaret is the most angry makes me think about future episodes and what the true nature of her relationship with Gabi is. Because she's feeling more betrayed than Lacey's own mom and more betrayed than anybody else. Even though she, of all people, should understand the level of grief and the lengths that one would go to bring harm to somebody that brought harm to them. It seems as though Margaret and Gabi are the most alike, and that may be where Margaret's hatred and anger come from, because it may be a reflection of everything that she feels internally about why she's been able to help all these other people, but she's never been able to use the gifts that she's been bestowed to be able to find her own son. So I'm definitely interested in how their relationship will unfold and the backstory into the secrets and the vulnerabilities and things that they shared with one another, because it's right now surface level it's seeming really unfair, and it seems out of place. Like, out of everybody to be this mad at Gabi, Margaret's seem the most irrational, if that makes any sense. But I don't know. Who am I? I am she. She's just a viewer and just somebody taking in the information that she's received. And the conclusion that I'm drawn to is, again, like I said, I was right. Sir loves Gabi. He will never do anything to hurt her. And in his own sick and twisted way, he doesn't understand that by wanting her happy, he's destroying her. But Lacey is a fighter. And again, we go back to those flashbacks and we see all of the ways in which Gabi was giving Lacey all of that strength when she used to hide underneath her bed with a flathead screwdriver. Listen, y'all, I have a flathead screwdriver in my car as a weapon. I understand. I get it. I have never related to a character more than Lacey underneath this bed. And with that, we see Lacey's not going down without a fight. But a quick light-hearted sidebar, Detective Staker, I love her so much. I think that drama shows, in order to have longevity, I think there's always a place and a special pocket for comedic relief to really break up the devastation of everything. And Detective Staker literally staked her claim as that character in this episode. She's passionate. She sidebar skates and evades the law, especially when she's like, I didn't say that. I didn't ask for that. What do you mean? I'm just thinking out loud, to be able to get M&A to help her in a way that she can sidestep a lot of red tape. But she's very observant as well. So to me, Detective Staker is like if Gabi was healed. Like if Gabi went to therapy, Gabi would be Detective Staker. So I'm just really loving that Detective Staker is a true, unbiased character in all of these things. Everybody around Gabi hates her, with the exception of Lacey's mom. But even still, that's like a trigger to Gabi herself. So to be able to have Detective Staker, who isn't romantically interested in her, doesn't have a relationship with her by working through M&A Associates, she just has a business relationship, you get to see more of their interaction, and you get to really see like a true respect between Gabi and Detective Staker. Even if it's only brief, you can feel that this character is going to be the character that allows Gabi to step outside of the emotional turmoil that she's sitting in and the emotional hurricane, to be able to take a bird's eye view to everything that's going around, not only surrounding Lacey but also the future cases. And with that, I would like to say that I love that we're still infusing other cases with the search to find Lacey. It really shows me what the writers are thinking about as they continue to progress, and it shows kind of like a Law and Order SVU, where it's like, okay, we can have a running storyline that runs across multiple seasons while still dealing with a crime that is very prevalent in the United States. Missing Black and brown little boys, little girls, men and women. You can write multiple stories about it, just like you can on SVU with sex crimes or special crimes against women, against children, against men that are sexually violent in, or some sort of like subset of sexual violence. You could do the same thing with missing people. Are they kidnapped? Did they get lost somewhere? Is it murder? Is it all these other things? And if you look at the statistics in real life now, this show can exist forever because people are still missing. Like, they're still missing. What I look forward to, and some things that I hope that they touch on, is the missing and murdered trans men and women. I think that it would really propel the show, and I think more people would be able to see themselves in the storyline. Again, it's not necessarily about writing stories specifically for fans or to appease fans, but we're talking about a show that's called Found, and we're talking about people that are missing and kidnapped, whether it's from a hospital, whether it's from their home, whether it's from a shelter or anything like that. With the way that trans women for sure are getting murdered in real life, I think that they also have an opportunity to highlight a lot of things that we're facing in 2024 in the middle of the turmoil and the psychosis that is Sir and Gabi. So there's that. Found season 2, episode 2, Missing While Difficult. Like I said, this wasn't really a recap or a review per se. I don't know what it was other than my heart and my passion and my thoughts and my love for the show and what the show does. It's like, we had a show back in the day, I think it was called Without a Trace, but this is just, it's different because it's specific to people that look like me. That it's getting traction, and for a show like this to be on air, like, we already know the impact that Law and Order SVU has on real victims in real life. So it's so important to me, and it's so moving to me that this show got picked up for 22 episodes this season, and the focus that it highlights, and the things that they call out in and across the episodes. And I hope that it creates a movement in real life. One of the things that Margaret did, and one of the things that was brought up in this episode, was about how the media didn't focus on missing kids that weren't blonde hair, blue eyes. And it sucks that we're still dealing with white woman syndrome in the media, that we're still dealing with Black women who aren't believed with their pain or with their trauma and things like that. And it really shows Margaret finding her way to be an ally and an advocate, not just in words, but in action and in purity of heart. So I'm just really looking forward to the movement that this show ends up inspiring in real life. And yeah, I will leave it there before it gets sad and sappy. So with that, we're going to end today's episode. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment in the comment box below. You can follow me on both podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, under So There's That Podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, and always get my thoughts as well as the live tweets of anything that I'm looking at, or even non-live tweets of new shows that I'm watching, at Kivanchi. And I will catch y'all in the next episode.